Tonight's the big vote for the CR, the continued resolution put together by Mike Johnson, supported by Donald Trump. We have a few Republicans in opposition to it. Welcome to the Doug TenNapel channel. This Friday, if this resolution fails, the government could shut down on Friday.
They're planning to vote down this simple bill. They are going to try to shut the government down. Every House Democrat will participate in this, it looks like. That would be a shame if it's true. I hope some of them will have a moment of clarity themselves and do the right thing, but it looks like they're going to try to shut down the government. It's a striking new posture for Democrats who have always said they've just been apoplectic about the prospect of government shutdowns.
This vote happens today. They're giving themselves a few days' time to negotiate and navigate. But this is going to be an explainer on where the division is, including Trump having some nasty words for Thomas Massie. Here is Rep. Clay Higgins, who I love he does a little kind of a live video of himself most nights from Washington, D.C. This is him from last night. Listen to his drawl. This is one of our Republicans in Washington, D.C.
Monday evening in D.C. America, we're going to advance the funding this week to continue to fund the government, most importantly, to continue the executive branch endeavors.
It's not about keeping the government open. I don't care if you keep the government open. It's about extending the government, the Donald Trump executive branch endeavors at reforming the corrupt government. Just to keep it clear, because I'm not normally for a continued resolution.
To reveal unbelievable levels of waste, fraud, abuse, theft, like criminal theft at massive levels. That's being uncovered every day. So we are completely aligned with the president's endeavors here, and Republicans are largely united in that effort. Nobody's being asked to sacrifice their core principles here. We've all had a seat at the table to make this thing work. That's exactly what we're going to do, because we the people.
Now, there's a little bit of trickery with those words in that we have to get the president's agenda done. So that means you have to generally agree to the last agreed spending, which was December. We're going to extend it. That means all of Biden's corrupt spending. Trump has to allow for a little while longer through September for him to get stuff done. Because if you shut down his government, you shut down his agenda. Now, there are people that do not care so much about his agenda, being Thomas Massie, a Republican, a great conservative Republican. And we're going to throw a lot of shade at him in this one, too, because I kind of disagree with him. This is Just the News has an article on, we're going to go into some of the corruption here. This blue state won't disclose employees who manage its social media and allegedly censor user comments. So it's Rhode Island, the Senate. This is how deep the corruption is. It goes down to the state level. The states are corrupt. I would guess about half of your government is an illegal grift. Half of it is fake funding, not business, meant to redistribute our money, not just to a government that doesn't work, but to around the world, to the globe, to countries where their democracies do not work, their markets don't work, their innovation doesn't work. And then we reward them with our fruits for their country that doesn't work. That's at least half of our government right now. The other half of the spending, by the way, is just paying the interest on the debt. Now, here's Donald Trump absolutely destroying Thomas Massie. And you hate to see this because we love Trump and we love Thomas Massie, and mommy and daddy are fighting. Thank you to the House Freedom Caucus for just delivering a big blow to the radical left Democrats and their desire to raise taxes and shut our country down. They hate America and all it stands for, the Democrats, that is. That's why they allowed millions of criminals to invade our nation. Sometimes it takes a great courage to do the right thing. Now he goes after Thomas Massie. And Thomas Massie and Trump have had words before, okay? But this is an example of Thomas Massie is a conservative to Trump's right, agreeing with the Democrats or voting with the Democrats. Congressman Thomas Massie of beautiful Kentucky is an automatic no vote on just about everything, despite the fact that he has always voted for continuing resolutions in the past. Now, this I'm going to call Trump out on. I looked up all of Thomas Massie's votes on continued resolution in the past, and they were all no votes. So Trump here is lying or doesn't know, or he found a continued resolution vote that I could not find in my research, but I looked them all up. So I don't know what the heck Trump is talking about here. Despite the fact that he has always voted for continuing resolutions in the past. I literally looked that up and I could not find a single continued resolution that he voted for. Thomas Massie. So there. Trump is saying of Thomas Massie, should be primaried. Now, I kind of agree with this one. If you can't do the MAGA agenda, although you can get a whole lot worse than Thomas Massie. And Thomas Massie has already, chatted back at Trump like, don't think, all these MAGA guys thinking you're going to primary me. He goes, there's been 2 other times people have tried primarying me and they both got 25% of the vote. So he's like, good luck, Trump. That's a challenge. Trump could run someone. Scott Jennings is looking around, meeting with people around Kentucky. CNN's Scott Jennings, he might primary Massie. And all I can say to Massie is, for people that say Thomas Massie is very popular by his people, winning his votes by overwhelming majorities, that's what Thomas Massie said. Hey, the same thing can be said of Mitch McConnell. He was very popular. He won his votes by overwhelming margins. So Thomas Massie saying how Kentuckians vote is not exactly proof of your conservative credentials. I don't know what's going on with Kentucky and their elections, but Trump might give you some trouble. So Trump wants to primary Thomas Massie, one of the most conservative. He's like Rand Paul. In fact, I'll prove it in a minute. He should be primaried and I will lead the charge against him. That's not going to work on Thomas Massie. His wife died last year. This man has nothing to lose. Thomas Massie is not going to compromise because Donald Trump threatens him with a primary. He'll just be like, I don't care. So it's not going to work. I don't believe in using tactics that will not work. You should be primaried and I will lead the charge against him. He's just another grandstander, all caps, who's too much trouble and not worth the fight. He reminds me of Liz Cheney, before her historic record-breaking fall. Loss. Trump. The people of Kentucky won't stand for it. Just watch. Do I have any takers? All caps. Anyways, thank you again to the House Freedom Caucus for your important vote. We need to buy some time in order to make America great again, greater than ever before. Unite and win. So I agree with Trump on the unite thing. I do not agree with the specifics of this argument at all. I have no idea why they're saying what they're saying. So this is Rand Paul on that vote, saying on this continued resolution, when we have a $2 trillion debt this year, he says, count me as a hell no. That's Rand Paul tweeted that. And then Thomas Massie retweeted it because he needs someone to hide behind. Rand is correct. I'm a no as well on this CR. Me too, Rand. I'm just like you. So what's Thomas Massie and Rand Paul doing? Look at my hair. What is this? What is this, guys? Okay. Rand Paul is a friend of Trump's, and he's going, I'm not voting for this CR. Trump is not going to primary Rand Paul. He is going to primary Thomas Massie because Thomas Massie is not his friend. Trump puts Thomas Massie in the Chip Roy column, conservatives that Trump just doesn't like. And then other people say like, oh, Mike Johnson, he's a rhino. No, Trump likes Mike Johnson. So like Trump is very Mike Johnson. So you can see how the divide does not perfectly line up along ideological lines of who's in for MAGA, who's out, who's good, who's bad. This is politics, guys. This is a chess game. I believe in having pure beliefs, but in the actual implementation of them, I think Thomas Massie and Rand Paul are going for pure, and I think it's a bad tactic, and I think it hurts America. I would have to unpack that for you on why you should fund a temporary, scummy CR, continued resolution. And it really is because Trump and his team have to remain at work. And where are you going to spend your capital? He's spending his capital on reforming the government. So yeah, you spend a whole lot for the next 6 months. And then when 6 months is over and you've reduced the size of government and broken all the furniture you need to break. And so in a way, by Rand Paul and Thomas Massie voting no, they're fighting Trump's agenda. I'll prove it to you because all we got to do is look at how the Democrats are voting on this CR and why are Rand Paul and Thomas Massie agreeing with the Democrats.
You will see one team that is working to fund the government and make sure we do the responsible thing. And you're going to see another opposing the CR because they've now exposed the truth. They're not for federal workers. They're not for anyone. All the people they've said in the past that are going to be harmed would be by their votes. They're using federal employees as props. They're using Medicaid benefits and Social Security checks as cudgels in this thing. The threat of government shutdown, they're using it as some sort of attempt to wrestle power away from the President of the United States, who overwhelmingly won the popular vote, the Electoral College, in every single swing state.
There. Here's Thomas Massie. This is just Thomas Massie, where he said, I predicted, see below. The CR is a uniparty deal. So now he's calling all the Republicans, which is most of them, and Trump, part of the Uniparty. It's a uniparty deal. It doesn't fund the wall. It does fund U.S. aid. Now, I only want to ask you guys with a straight face. What Thomas Massie is implying here is wrong. He's implying that Trump, number one, does not want to fund the wall. I'm just going to ask you guys with a straight face. Does Trump want to fund the wall? Yes or no? Of course he does. Does Trump want to fund USAID? No, of course he doesn't. So why is he willing to pass the CR? Why is he holding his nose and passing the CR? Every Republican. Why? And then here's Thomas Massie continuing. The Democrats depart for a retreat on Wednesday. That's tomorrow. So he believes that they've already agreed to provide enough votes to pass the CR. I've looked up all the Democrats, okay, and I can't find a one of them that's supporting the CR. So Trump was either lying or wrong before, and Thomas Massie could be lying and wrong here. That is, he doesn't want to admit that the Democrats are not voting for the CR and that he agrees with them and that Rand Paul agree with them. Obviously not, they're not voting for it for the same purpose, but they are fighting the Trump agenda. Here's another Republican strategist saying that the Democrats are not for funding the CR.
Democrats are refusing to vote for this bill.
Okay, if Democrats are refusing to vote for this bill, then Thomas Massie just told a fib or is wrong. We'll find out when the actual vote happens. It's this afternoon at 4 o'clock, I believe, Eastern time. We might even go live. I do owe you guys a live show now because you guys super chatted on the last episode. So we're going to do a live show sometime.
Clean CR, continuing resolution. It's got a few things in it. It funds veteran services. It ups spending on border deportations for ICE. Our border czar has been coming to the Capitol saying, I need more money. I can send more out of here, but I need more money to do it. This does it. There are no pet projects. All the usual stuff that folks hate about these continuing resolutions is not in this CR. And so
it's called a clean CR. A clean continued resolution means they didn't load it up with a bunch of pork. So it does have taking care of border security, which we support. It does not have all the usual frabba-jabba of trans bathrooms and paying for all their stuff. So if I'm going to try and find the truth of who's for what on this bill, I'm going to go straight to a Democrat. Let's go to Nancy Pelosi. This was last night. She says House Democrats are ready to support a bipartisan government funding bill. But the Republicans are pushing a bill that guts veterans' benefits. Now, you just heard the guy say in the previous video that it does not. It actually keeps veterans' benefits open, rips away health care from families, and slashes affordable housing for seniors. And then she says at the bottom here, Democrats will never agree to these devastating cuts. So I just have to go back to Thomas Massie and say, why are you voting with the Democrats against this bill? And that goes for Rand Paul, too. That's my update on this whole thing. Now you know the government could shut down. We'll find out if they have the votes this afternoon. I'm going to guess they don't have the votes this afternoon. That's my guess. I've been wrong before. What do you guys think? Let me know in the chat below. Make a bet. Does the CR pass or does it not pass tonight? And we'll check back in later and see who's right and who's wrong. I'm Doug in exile.